Well, hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Real Estate Investing. I'm your host, Sharon Vornholt, and I'm so happy you're joining us today. My guest today is my friend, Pili Yarusi, and I could not be happier to have her back on the podcast. I also want to dive into a topic that I think is important for entrepreneurs, and I know she's passionate about it, and that is narrowing your focus and how that builds greater success in your business. Pili is a mom and a wife whose goal is to lead with Aloha, and we're going to talk about that one. She is the co-founder and operator of Yarusi Holdings, along with her husband, Jason. Yarusi Holdings is a multifamily investment firm that has an active real estate portfolio of over 180 million investment properties of $180 million. Pili co-hosts Multifamily Live, the Jason and Pili Project, Moms of Multifamily, and more, Moms of Real Estate. These can all be found on Facebook, YouTube, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. Welcome to the show, Pili.
Hello. So honored to be on, Sharon.
Well, it's so much fun having you on the show. We had a chance to chat before the show, but I want to start out by having you tell everybody a little bit about how you got started, because I know you're in the multifamily space now, but you started with single family, correct?
Yep, started with single family back in 2013. Jason and I, my husband and I, were bartenders forever. Bartenders, bar managers. He also had a brewery, but Hurricane Sandy happened, and that was actually previous to this decision. But his father's company is actually a house lifting company. So Jason and I, while we were still doing all of our New York things, we started helping out the family business, because all of a sudden it went from a few raises a year to hundreds. That company has done over 2,500 lifts since Hurricane Sandy in 2000.
Wow.
I believe that was 2013. So that happened. And then once Jason and I decided to start our family, I was done bartending. We moved to New Jersey, and we had to sit down and decide what was next. So we sat down with the family, and we decided that house flipping was the next step for all of us. The entire family moved from New York to New Jersey. They kept on the house lifting business, but what Jason and I started doing was purchasing homes, these flood ravaged homes that nobody could move into. They were basically demolished. We would go into these homes, and we wouldn't only lift them up once, but we would lift them up twice, thereby creating a new first floor, and then having a garage underneath. So these flips, they took a really, really long time. We didn't realize how long it was going to take. Our first flip took almost a year from purchase to sale. And if any of your audience are flippers, and you know yourself, that is way too long for a house flip. I mean, we were calling up banks, we were making sure we were good on our financials, and we actually made money on this first project, not as much as we did, but we did it a few more times before we realized we needed to do easier flips. And we also joined a mentorship program. So in 2014, 2016. So in 2016, I joined a mentorship program for flipping and wholesaling. And we got into more flipping, more wholesaling, started systematizing that business. And it wasn't until 2016. So, I almost forgot the most important part. All through this, I'm pregnant.
The whole time.
Our first child. Yes, we have our first child in 2014, our second child in 2016. So I'm pregnant with our second child, and Jason comes to me with this amazing thought about multifamily. And I told him no, because we had so much going on. We had the flipping and wholesaling business. That's two different businesses. We had the house lifting business. Jason still had his brewery, and I was a real estate agent. So we had multiple businesses going on. Plus I had a toddler, plus I was pregnant. And I said no. And I know you mentioned this before, like really focusing in. Jason knew that this was the next step. So he and I decided to start learning about it. Instead of just jumping headfirst into it, like we did with flipping and wholesaling and then getting the education, we decided to get educated first. And in 2017, we took down our first multifamily.
Wow, that's quite a story. And that's quite an education, isn't it? Something you could
Yes.
never get from a course or a college, or really even from a mentor. That was like the hard knocks of life or something.
It was a journey.
Yes. So you have 3 children now, correct?
Yes, 3 children.
That's what I thought. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you, I've heard you say this a million times, and I thought, well, I'm just going to ask her what that means. Lead with aloha in all you do. What exactly does that mean?
So lead with aloha. So number one, and a lot of your listeners that know me might not know this. My entire name is actually Pili Aloha. So that means close love in Hawaiian. And throughout my life, I felt like I was missing some sort of guidance. And once I started getting into mentorship or getting mentored, and once I started looking and really honing in, what's my mission statement? Who am I? What am I trying to bring to the world? That's when I realized, and I remember it hitting me like a ton of bricks. I was like, I'm just going to be me. My name is Pili Aloha. My name is close love. The word for friendship is ho aloha. And it's these words are so closely intertwined with who I know I am. So leading with aloha is the closest word that we have in the English language is love.
Love, close love. I love that.
It means so many different things. It means peace. It means loving with truth. It means, there's so many different ways to describe the word aloha. The closest word I can come in any other language is the word shalom. It's kind of the same feeling, this all-encompassing warmth. So leading with that is my mission. When I open myself up, when I walk into a room, when I walk into a meeting, when I come onto Zoom, when I come into podcasts, I lead with aloha, which is basically simply leading with myself. It's my name. It's who I am.
I love that. And I think if everybody did that, what a fabulous world this would be, wouldn't it?
Or found their truth. What is that truth about you? Lead with that. Open up into a room with that.
I love that. Now, I know that you work with your husband, Jason. He's on the podcast, fabulous guy. We had a great time. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but you all have done this very successfully. And I think from what I've seen, the way you talk about things, you all have a very good way of communicating. That must be the difference in those couples that succeed and those that don't. And they communicate and they find a common ground, because you said, I didn't want to do it, but then we talked about it, and then we studied it. But you have a path. It's not like, nope, I'm not doing that. That's not what you all do.
No, we don't cut each other off, because there's usually a very, very important reason the other person wants something, or it wouldn't come out. It wouldn't even be asked. So Jason and I have known each other since 2003. We didn't get together until late 2012, 2013. Wow. So we knew each other for 10 years. We worked together for almost 10 years. We've known each other. We knew each other for a very long time. A part of the story that I didn't tell is, while we were working together, when I left, so I left for a little bit to go to California. When I came back, he had my job. I took it back. Then he took it back. Then I took it back. And finally, our boss would always make us butt heads, because the best ideas would come out of it. Because at the time, we thought we had such different personalities, and we still do. But in different mindsets. He's from New Jersey. I'm from Hawaii. I was born on an island. He was born in New Jersey. So we would butt heads, different mindsets, different thoughts, but we were both good people, or we're both good people. So it would never escalate into a fight necessarily. So when we finally saw each other, I was done with New York, actually. Let's go deeper into the story. I was done with New York, moved back to Hawaii. And he asked me to meet him in San Francisco, because we'd been talking over the phone. And I was like, okay, that'll be fun. I haven't been to San Francisco in a long time. I was there as a kid. So we meet in San Francisco, and finally we just see each other and we see how perfect it could be.
Mhm.
Where I'm going with the story is that throughout our working relationship, we had to communicate. We had to be friends. We worked in a box that was like 14 by 14 with
Mhm.
probably 14 other bartenders,
Oh my.
handling thousands of people daily at the busiest like day drinking place
Mhm.
in New York City. If you ever go to the Frying Pan, you're in New York, tell them I said hi.
I'll do that.
So we had to communicate. So we actually took all that we learned throughout our lives and brought it into our relationship. So we know, Jason, I know absolutely anytime we have a disagreement, it's because we're not hearing each other. And we're
Mhm.
not taking the responsibility onto ourselves to hear the other person. So when we hear each other, it's perfect. So when he brought up multifamily, I almost shut down. I didn't go that far into the story. I was like, no, absolutely not. Pregnant, multiple businesses, toddler, absolutely not. My brain's not there. And then he knew that we had to start off with education. We had to start off with education anyway, because you and I both know multifamily is not just something you can just
Yeah.
kind of jump into and figure it out by watching
Yeah.
HGTV. Not the best way to learn how to flip, by the way, just for anybody that's listening to this. So that is why we are such great communicators. It starts with communication first. It starts with knowing that and planning on the future, but knowing that things will come up and that you will have to communicate through them, especially in order to work with your spouse, live with your spouse, love your spouse, and create this immense and amazing legacy that we've been able to create together.
You should write a book on that, Pili. You know how many people could benefit from that? That was just this huge wisdom mom.
Maybe that's what I'll call it, wisdom mom. You can get some, I'll say it here, I owe Sharon some royalties.
So when we talk about narrowing your focus, I always think about you've got to learn new habits. You've got to get a new way of being. You have to, you just have to kind of hone everything down and say, how am I going to do this? Does that begin with your morning routine? I know you have a morning routine. Tell me about that and what that impact has on your focus in your business.
So I'm going to tell this all to you with sort of a caveat to your listeners. You have to figure out what works for you. Number one, figure out what works for you. A morning routine works for me. That's what works for me. I wake up in the morning. I make sure I drink a full glass of water. I'm actually holding, how many ounces is this? This is actually a 24-ounce bottle. I usually tank this before the morning's over, and this is before 9 o'clock, 24 ounces. I drink at least 8 of them when I wake up in the morning. I usually just fill the glass. I fill this glass at night, keep it by the side of my bed. That way, if I wake up on Thursday, I can take a couple of sips, go back to sleep. Don't have to walk and get out of bed, thereby waking my body up. I'm still in my room. I'm still there. So a good night of sleep, wake up, drink some water, and then I meditate. And then, I forgot the coffee. I do drink coffee. Not that everybody needs to drink coffee, but that is my stimulant. Get up, drink my water, drink my coffee, meditate, and then I exercise. I exercise anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes. I listen to my body. If you look at other podcasts, if you go a couple of years ago, I was really into 75 hard. I was working out 2 times a day. That's what my body needed. Now my body needs 15 to 45 minutes a day. That's where I am right now. Maybe by next month, I'll be back to 2 times a day. I'm not sure. You figure out what works for you. But I implore that you insert some sort of exercise into your day. Walking for 15 minutes, doing some push-ups for 15 minutes, getting on a bike for 15 minutes, doing whatever it is to kind of speed up your heart rate, get the blood flowing, get yourself up. And again, it doesn't need to be in the morning. You find out what works for you. But before my kids wake up is the best time for me. So all of this is usually done before 6 o'clock in the morning. Between 6 and 6:15, my children usually start getting up, and the rest of the morning is for them until I drop them off in school at 7:30. So that's my morning routine. That helps me
Wow.
really to focus my mind and my body.
That's quite a routine. Now I remember Jason talking about getting up. Isn't it 4:32?
So he wakes up quite a bit early.
Mhm.
Again, just because you're married, just because your spouse is, you don't have to have the same routine. I used to do the 4-3-2. You've won the day. You wake up at 4:32 and you've won the day. You're up before the sun. He gets to get a really good workout in, and he likes to work out an hour or 2 hours a day, like almost 2 hours a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. That's what his body needs. He wakes up, drinks his coffee, he meditates, does his 4:32, gets out into the garage and he works out. And this is all done before the kids wake up. And we usually have a little bit of time together. We usually save at least 10 to 15 minutes together just to really hone in, see what we have to do for the day before our kids wake up. Again, I think that's the 5th time I've said before our children wake up, because we want to make sure our kids know before they go to school, they have this time with mommy and daddy, this FaceTime with mommy and daddy, where mommy and daddy are putting down their phones. I'm cooking breakfast for them. I'm talking with them, talking about how their day is going to go, how yesterday went. Anything that they want to talk about, if they want to start drawing something, there's that time that I can be there present with them. So often we wake up in the morning, it's this jumble of activities, and I'm trying to get things done, and Jason will trying to get things done, and the kids are like, "Jess, pay attention to me for a moment. I'm about to go into school for 7 hours, mommy and daddy. I just want, excuse me, I just want a little bit of time." So that's why everything is done before they wake up.
That is such a commitment. I mean, it is a great idea. It is definitely a commitment, but it's so important. And some people that don't really know about focus and all of that, maybe as much as you've thought about it, might be going, well, what the heck does all that have to do with your business? But we know that it has an enormous thing to do with your business. So let's talk about that.
It has everything to do with my business, especially for parents, right? So with COVID, I experienced this amazing ability to keep my children home, to homeschool them. So with them going back to school, sort of this like second onslaught of mom guilt came back onto me. That's why I had to really, really go back and solidify that morning routine, having that focus in the morning just for me, just so Jason has his time, I have my time, we have our time together, then we can really focus in on the kids. So again, why that is important is because I don't want to bring that guilt into my business. When I'm in my business, I want to be in my business. I don't want to be thinking about sports or my children's homework or their grades, or are they happy? Of course, that's always in the back of my mind. I'm a mom. And when I'm here with you on this podcast, or if I'm talking with an investor, or if I'm looking at some underwriting, or if I'm looking at a new building we might take on, I don't want to be thinking, oh, I wonder if Luke feels good today, or I wonder if I did the right thing. I want to know, absolutely know, I'm doing everything in my power to create the best life for my kids, that I don't even have to worry about it because I take care of it in the morning. That's why that focus is so important. And then bringing that focus throughout my day. So I use something called time blocking. I'm surprised about how many people don't know about time blocking. It keeps me, because again, we talked about this earlier, self-diagnosis. I've self-diagnosed myself with ADHD. I swear I have it. My mom just, bless her, that she didn't get me diagnosed in the 80s, because I would have been probably given a whole slew of medications I didn't need. So all I really need is focus. And time blocking gives me that focus. I have And I actually call it aloha time in the morning. I have my aloha time. I have the kids' time where I don't touch my phone. I don't touch any business. And then from the moment I drop all of them off to almost the moment I pick them up in the school line, because, you're in your car, I can still be doing work. Once I pick them up and they're in my car, my phone goes away, and that's their time after that work time. But in that middle space, my work time, I also have 2 hours blocked off for one thing time. So the one thing is something I choose every single day. It's something that I need to get done within this day to make the rest of the day go smoothly. Everything else will come into place as long as I get this one thing done. And that's sometimes chosen for the week, sometimes chosen for the day. It depends on what's going on in our business, so that I have that ultimate focus. And then I have leeway throughout the rest of my day, but I also have like my meetings scheduled in. I have any phone calls I have to get scheduled in. Everything is mindfully put in and organized. And I need that for my brain, because I'm a dreamer. If given the chance, I will sit down at my desk and I will doodle and I will think up all these amazing things to do. And I need that focus. I need to focus in. So I've talked with a lot of people that have similar difficulties, and you don't even have to have ADHD. Having a time blocked calendar doesn't only help you, it helps the rest of your business. It helps my employees have access to my calendar. They don't have to call me and say, Pili, where are you? They can go to my calendar, see, and they'll be like, oh, she's talking to Sharon right now. Don't call her. She's talking to Sharon right now. She can't get on this other call. She's in her one thing time. Don't bother her unless it's really important. So this helps your focus as a leader, helps your entire business as a whole.
We could be twins, you talk about the dreamer and the doodling and the thing where you're working, and then all of a sudden I slide over here to the thing, and then it's like, nope, you got to come back. But then I'll go along for a while, and then there I go again. It's like a constant struggle to not do that. And the whole doodle, the colored pens during COVID, I've kind of a funny, not funny story, but my daughter had to have a medical procedure and you couldn't go into the office. So I'm thinking, where am I going to go for 3 hours? And, ladies are always looking for restrooms too. So I go into Office Depot and I find this pack of 30 colored pens. And I'm thinking, for the doodling, that's what I need, the colored pens. And it's like, no, put those suckers away. But
I love how you said you'll be working and you just get diverted by the thing. And
it's the thought.
Could be anything.
I know.
Could be your children's art that's on your desk. I have my children's art on my desk that hasn't been put away yet. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm doing what I need to be doing. Oh my goodness, that needs to be done. And then, oh my goodness, that thing needs to be done. And then, oh my goodness, I need to wash the dishes, especially if I'm working from home today. I'm just like, there's so much that I need to do at home. This is why having a separate space for our business now has been instrumental, but there's all the things. I know that if I get distracted like that, all I need to do is look at my calendar also to see, okay, if I do get distracted, say if I get distracted and the dishes need to be washed, or I get distracted and I have to organize something, I know what I'm missing. So that's the thing, like if emergencies happen, say if it's not even a distraction, say I get a call from the school, they say I have to come pick up your son. He fell, and it's happened before. I don't have to, I can drop everything because number one, I know I have a team that I've put together that can pick it up. And I know number two, if needed, Jason can pick it up too, but technically he'd probably meet me at the school. So we pick Luke up. And then we can go back to our calendar and say, okay, I missed that one thing, wasn't able to get it done today. I need to move it to tomorrow. Missed that meeting. They'll be fine. I can move that to tomorrow. This is why having a very, very and I'm saying to the T with all of the details in your calendar. That way, the people that work with you can look at your calendar and see how important that event was, what was supposed to happen, because they can go and see the details. Now, some of your listeners might be wondering, well, I don't have anybody working with me. Start the habits now. Start the habits now. Because before, when I first started time blocking, I would just use titles. Start putting in those details so that your employees, the people that work with you, can see what you've missed during the day or what you need to go back to.
So do you use a Google Calendar or similar type of calendar? Google
Calendar for everything.
Okay. So going back to the one thing that's a book that I truly love. I love that book. Now you said 2 hours a day for the one thing.
I take 2 hours. I block out those 2 hours, but usually, I mean, sometimes it takes me 15 minutes. Great. Now I have an hour and 45 minutes that I can use for something out, or if something needs to be blocked into that time. I understand if my one thing needs to take an hour and I have this other hour, then that other thing can take the rest of that hour. I make it a whole block just so I give myself the time. Give yourself the time. Make your days easy. Like, hard things are going to come at you anyway. If you can make your day easier for yourself by giving yourself that time, why don't you just give yourself that time? That way, if you have to take the time back, then okay, Friday, I need some of that time to work on this one thing, or this other thing, not the one thing, this other thing, then, or if it's that important, then guess what? Your one thing just changed.
Exactly. And sometimes that happens.
Exactly. Having amazing focus and amazing organizational skills actually allows you to be more creative, actually allows you to be more malleable. I know it sounds like that doesn't work, but it does, because you know everything that's happening in your day. You know what you can push and pull. If you don't know what's happening, you're not being malleable. You're not being spontaneous. You're not living in spontaneity. You're living in chaos. Having everything set up it has been instrumental to our business.
I think you just nailed it. Living in chaos, when it's kind of like living in a room where a bomb went off, trying to work in a room where everything is a mess. I have to tell you, sometimes my family doesn't understand when I say you have to put that stuff away, because it's the physical clutter for me turns into mental clutter. And I know something that's going to happen when you have small children, you have toys and all of that. I've been down that path and a couple of times. So, but in general, your workspace, I think, needs to be as organized as it can be, because you can't focus, you can't be productive if you've got a messy space. In the same way, if you've got an unorganized calendar, it's just not possible.
It isn't. I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, so I'm not going to put words in anyone's mouth. This is just my opinion. But because I can be a very disorganized person. Even looking at my desk right now, I have, like I said, I have my children's art right here. I have some of their Legos over here. But this is me working from home today.
Right.
So I understand that this type of mess is going to happen. At work, my desk is absolutely clear. I sit down, I put my computer down, I have my bigger computer on my laptop, and I have a place for my coffee, and I have a place for whatever I'm working on that day. And then at the end of the day, I clean it all up and I leave the space as I found it, which is clear. So when I come back in, I am in my ultimate workplace. I'm in my ultimate workspace, and I don't have the distractions. I know that, put away the art, put away the Legos, what other parent mom things that I have to do during the day. Or even like, picking up a piece of paper and using a colored pencil to draw something. None of it needs to disturb me from the work that needs to take place.
Would you say that, well, it seems to me that you actually, by being so organized and living and dying by your time blocking, that you probably get a lot more work done than most people do in a shorter time period of a shorter number of hours would maybe be a better way to put it, because you're dropping your kids off at school, then you go back later in the day and you get your kids at school. So you've got the middle. Well, we'll just call it the middle. What does that look like, that length of time?
You mean my workday, the middle
The
between,
middle.
I love it. It's like Middle Earth.
The middle.
So I get back home from dropping off the kids, shower, get out the door probably within the half an hour, because there really usually isn't anything I have to do if I've structured my morning correctly. If I haven't, and it happens, I might have things lying around, dishes that need to be done, but I make sure I'm in the office when I go into the office by 9 o'clock each day. Get into the office at 9 o'clock. I look at my calendar, and my calendar fluctuates. Sometimes I have social media posts that need to be created, content that needs to be created. Like in the morning, it really depends on if that's my one thing or not. I have calls that I need to get completed, and then a little break for lunch because I need to eat. And then the rest of my day, and a lot of that, and then interspersed within the day is I sit down with all of our employees. We have Bo, who is our office manager. I usually sit with him, make sure I go through my calendar with him, make sure I'm not forgetting anything, missing anything that needs to be done for the office, anything that he needs. I sit down with our social media manager, Tori, and just making sure that she has everything she needs to complete her work. And then I sit down with Alessandra, who is going into asset management. She's our head. She's also one of our head analysts. And I sit down with her and make sure she has everything she needs to complete her work as well. So during my day, that is usually what my day looks like. It's a lot of content creation, a lot of talking on the phone, and then making sure our team has what they need to succeed. And then also sitting down with Jason and seeing what's on the docket and what's coming up next.
So you end your day at what time?
So I pick up the children at 2. I have to be there before 2:30. So I usually leave at like 1:55, 2 o'clock.
So there you go, folks. I would venture to say that Pili gets more done in those hours than the average person. So give it a try. I know that you can be very focused, and I really admire that about you. So I'm not trying to nail you down here on timelines. I'm just really trying to make a point that if you have systems in place, and you do have some help, not everyone has that help, but you can start small. And that's something I encourage people to do, even if it's to get a VA to help you with some of the tasks. Just offload something, because once you get the hang of it, you're ready to do more of it. It's that first part of, don't you think, of just getting over, I can do it better than everybody, and just the act of training someone to do it too.
It is imperative that once you're ready to start bringing on more people. But like I said, you don't have to have employees to start focusing in organizing your business. In fact, it's more imperative for you to start that now before you start building your team, because you want to bring them into a system that's already organized. You want to bring them into a system that they can look at and build on. That's what our office manager is doing. He's looking at our systems. He looked at our entire Google Drive system and revamped the entire thing, because I had a certain system, and then somebody came in and put in another system, and these systems were just like all over the place. We never had a chance to go in, but you bring in someone good, someone that can do it better than you. So I actually don't consider myself a very organized person. If you got to take a look in my brain, yeah, not so organized. Again, that's like self-deflating doubts. I'm using the word wrong, but Bo is actually, he's organized and he loves doing it. And he came in, he organized the entire thing. So that's me bringing in someone, that's Jason and I bringing in someone that can do it better than us. This gentleman can organize better than us. Can you find other people? And this is a mindset I've had. Actually, it's probably one of the reasons why I hired Jason in the first place. Back when we were bartenders, I brought him in because he originally only came to do construction on our bar. But the friend that brought him in, another bartender, said he could bartend. I tested him out and he ended up bartending better than me. Don't tell him I said that. And that's why I hired him, because I was like, well, if I'm going to succeed at this, I need to make sure people can do this better than I can, so I can be the manager I know I can be for that bar. So bringing that in and pulling that forward into business was really, really important for me.
Such great advice. Well, Pili, let's wrap this up. I know you've just got a mountain full of advice you could give out, but what final advice do you have for women, for busy moms, and really for anyone that would like to model what you do, follow in your footsteps? Because she is definitely someone you should pay attention to. What final advice do you have for folks?
Oh, thank you, Sharon. Well, the first thing I would say is know you can. Know you can do this. But the responsibility is on you. If you think you can't, it's probably correct. If you think you can, great, it's probably correct too. So know that you can do this. Know that you can set yourself up, and know that you can look towards other women like Sharon. If you're listening to this, you're getting absolutely amazing advice from her and other people along the way. Decide on what you're going to do and follow the success. Success leaves clues. So follow in the footsteps of others and then make your own path. But you can. And it just takes time. It just takes trial and error. And I implore that you find some sort of organizational strategy, if you need one, to really, really boost your business.
I love that. That's great advice. Well, Pili, I'm going to put all your links to all your great stuff, but what's the best way for folks to reach out to you?
The easiest way to reach out to me is at our website, www.yarusiholdings.com. YARUSI, my last name, holdings with an S.com. Everything is there.
Everything is there. Well, Pili, as always, it's great catching up with you. And I love all your wisdom and the way you've worked things out. I do feel like everything is like kind of like a knitting ball that's coming. Somebody's thrown across the room sometimes when it comes to my brain. It's like, gather it up. No, wait a minute. It's not organized. Oh, well. Oh, well, whatever. But I do think there are so many people out there that are hard on themselves. Maybe they're moms, maybe they're family men that have businesses and wives and homes and children. Everyone is so hard on themselves, when maybe what you need is just some coping tools. Maybe you need to learn to time block. Maybe you need to give yourself a little grace. Maybe that's it. But I think people are struggling a lot more than what they would like to admit. And I think it's so refreshing to be able to talk about it. That's just my feeling on it.
I agree. People, because we're hard on ourselves too. I'm not going to lie to you. We are hard on ourselves. And like you said, creating these systems for yourself so you can lean back on them. And above all, and we talked about this in the beginning of this podcast, communicate with your partners. And I'm not only talking with your spouse, but with your partners in your business, your employees. Communication is key. Everything that we just talked about, everything about systems, it's all another form of communication. You're communicating with yourself, you're communicating with your team, and you're making sure your communications are organized. That's what this all is about. It's all communication.
Excellent advice. Thanks again, Pili. And thanks to all the listeners that come out week after week. And I'll link back to Pili's previous show. It was another great one. So you can get a lot of Pili if you want. So
a lot of aloha.
A lot of aloha, yes. So folks, please share the show and leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. I would so appreciate it. And I will see you all same time, same place next week. Bye for now. Thanks, Pili.